What's going on, family? So this video, I'm going to list 6 unfair societal expectations placed on dads. As always, if this resonate with you, please pick it up and grab it and walk throughout the day, throughout your week, and contemplate on these. And what does not resonate with you, just leave it. All right. So these 6 are definitely 6 that I've chosen that I see occur in my life, but judging and speaking with other dads, I can clearly tell that most of you will resonate with majority of these. So, number 1, before we start, this prompt is from my 365 Dad journal. Link is in the description. 365 prompts that I created for dads to live life more mindfully and have a deeper connection with your children. So if you are new to journaling, if you are an experienced journaler, or if you just, you want to get your foot wet with journaling, I advise you to check out my 365 Dad journal. Link is in the description. All right, so the prompt in the journal is the inspiration for this video. And let's start with the number one thing. And I'm not going to necessarily rank these in order of importance, but number one seems fitting. And that is you have to be the enforcer, right? You got to be the tough guy, the disciplinarian, the rah-rah one. Like my son is 13, my daughter is 3. But when my son was around 6 years old or so, I used to actually really take pride in the fact that, when his mom says, "Oh, I'm gonna tell your dad," he's like terrified. Like, no, no, don't tell dad. Please don't tell dad. And because that's how I grew up, right? When anything happened, if my father found out, we were like terrified. Like, that's the last person you want to find out you did something is dad. And I would say, as I've been more on this mindful fatherhood journey within the last few years, that has shifted for me. Because if I'm being honest, I don't necessarily want to be, that's not who I want to be. I always tell people we still have to have expectations and certain standards that we want to set for our children to follow. So we're not saying just have your kids run all over you, right? But this idea of being the enforcer, it's a role that I think is unfair because I don't I no longer strive to be that, right? That was an ego thing for me. Now I strive to be the parent that my son is okay with coming to when there's issues he has going on, even if it's misbehaving issues, right? I want him to know, all right, I feel cool going to dad about this because I know he's gonna get to the root of it, right? He's going to talk to me and understand, and he'll be understanding, I would say is the best word, and he'll empathize while still holding a certain standard. I don't want my kids to fear me. Fear-based parenting isn't my thing. It used to be, but why would you want your kid to be afraid of you, right? I want my kid to respect me, but I also want him and her, my daughter as well. I want both of them to just be consumed in the fact that, man, my dad has this emotional level of maturity that I know I can tell him what's wrong. Because you got to remember, for all the things our kids do, there's an underlining root behind most of it. And if we just are going haywire and putting fear in their hearts, we never get to that underlining, right? We just stay at the top level of the onion. We never get into the layers of it to find out what's really bothering them. So I think that's number one is we got to be the enforcer. It's an outdated way of trying to be a dad, in my opinion. And so number two is going to be that we don't need anything, right? As a dad, you got it all under control. You don't need help. You don't need self-care. You don't need time to yourself. And remember, you can't be your best for your children if your cup isn't filled, right? You're doing yourself a disservice and you're doing your kids a disservice if you're consistently parenting on a low battery. All right. So a good example of this is sometimes my son really knows how to grind my gears. He's getting older now. He's in the 8th grade now, and he definitely knows how to get on my very last nerves. And there are moments where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to remove myself, right? I'm going to step away. Maybe it's 2 minutes, maybe it's 3 minutes. It could even be 1 minute, but I'm going to regulate my nervous system, right? These are the type of things that, you know, back in the day, fatherhood will never teach you. But why not use the resources and knowledge that we have? Why not put it into practice, right? So if my son is on this podcast, this YouTube talk, and you ask him straight up, when your dad is frustrated, does he walk away and come back? And he'll be like, for sure, because I just breathe. I'm not perfect. There are many times when we're going back and forth in the heat of the moment, but that shouldn't wash away all the moments where I was self-aware enough to say, you know what, I actually need to regulate my nervous system. I actually need some downtime. And I'll step away, take some deep breaths, and I'll come back and engage in a conversation. And that's a much better way to resolve conflict, especially when you're dealing with teenagers or any child for that matter, right? Because you want to come at it from a fresh perspective. You don't want to come at it from being angry. So just that idea that dads don't need anything. We got it all under control. We don't need help, and we don't need to regulate our nervous system. So number 3 is going to be, we have to almost not show any emotion, right? We got to be invisible emotionally. And I'm telling you right now, not displaying your emotions with your children will have them looking up to their friend's dad, their best friend's father. I have been there, right? Growing up, I've realized the reason why I clung to my friends who had such great relationships with their fathers is because I didn't have that side at home. And we don't want that for our children, right? Be okay with telling your kids how you're feeling. You don't have to have the Superman cape on 24/7. That is a outdated narrative. I think my son and I's relationship definitely grew closer once I started being a little more vulnerable with him. Once I started telling him, yo, dude, I'm super overwhelmed right now at work. I'm super overwhelmed with this project I got going on. I'm super overwhelmed with the business, and I'm feeling a little anxious right now. Because now he understands, like, if he snaps at me, right? If my dad is quick with me or snippy with me, I know he's not being intentional, and he's just not this super mean dude. It looks like he's having a long week, a long day. And we have to be okay with being vulnerable, right? It's okay to display emotions to your children, because now you're raising them to be okay with displaying emotions in all of their relationships that they're going to, foster as they grow up. Partnership, friendships, work relationships, right? So just this idea that we can't show emotion as a dad, it doesn't make any sense to me. So the fourth one is going to be that we have to provide, and we got to make it look easy and fast. Be the provider. Now, this is a tricky one for me because it depends on your values. So I have a set of values where one of them is to provide for my family. That is a value of mine, is to, attain resources so not only I can help the world, but I could provide my children with a life that I'd never had. So I want to do that, right? I want to be the one to provide for my family. But the reality is, it's not going to look the same every day. Some days I'm going to be up, some days I'm going to be down. When we talk about finances, right? Sometimes their mom will provide a little more than me. And that's perfectly fine. You don't want to wrap up your whole identity in provider, because as soon as something happens where money isn't coming to you right now, you feel like you have no self-worth. You feel like your self-worth is completely shot, and it's because you've tied up your entire identity in providing. Money is frequency. It's going to come, it's going to go. One thing my daughter's mom said to me many years ago when I first met her, I was like, man, that is actually great advice. She told me, money is money. It's just like, it comes, it goes. So don't put too much stock on money. Put stock into how you want to feel when you have money, right? And then you're going to be an energetic match to it. But if you're in a down season, that means you're not a good dad. If you're going through something at work and maybe you get let go and business is a little slow, you're an entrepreneur, you're hitting a down peak, you can't provide as much as you were providing 2 months ago, does that mean you're a bad dad? Of course it doesn't. It means that we got to figure it out. So let's figure it out instead of negative self-talking ourselves because, we're not providing. So don't fall into that trap, right? Money is energy, it's frequency. It's going to come to us. It's going to leave us. It's going to come back around tenfold. Don't put all your identity in providing. I think we're on 4. So 4 is going to be, no, that was 4. So 5 is going to be, oh, we always have to fix feelings with using logic. We always have to fix the situations with using logic. So remember, it's not all about logic. I have a whole video on this about why we need to start parenting from intuition more as men, as fathers. It's not just all about the playbook and using the thing that you know you're supposed to say when this situation happens in parenting, right? Parent from your heart, parent from your gut, parent from your body, parent for what the moment is calling for, not just digging in the toolbox, right? So we want to start parenting from intuition more. We don't have to always use quote unquote dad logic. I think I just made that up, but we don't have to always use quote unquote dad logic for every single thing our children are going through as fathers. We also don't have to use dad logic for things that we are going through as men and as fathers, right? So this affects how we are treating our kids, but it also affects how we are treating ourselves, right? Sometimes we got to throw logic out the window and just parent from what feels best for the moment, right? Be where you are and parent more intuitively as a feeling as opposed to just flipping to page 5 in the dad handbook. All right. And the last one, the 6th one, is we got to always be certain. I tell people this all the time. Best 3 words I've used is I don't know when it comes to being a dad, right? Other than I love you is I don't know, because sometimes we don't know. And society is going to tell you that you always have to have the answer. You always have to be very certain, very sure. You can be confident and not know. What is confidence? It's just like it's a word, right? But so just because you don't know doesn't mean you're not confident. You can confidently not know. There's nothing wrong with that. What I do is say, I don't know yet, right? So I'm not sure, but I'm going to figure this out and we're going to figure it out together, or I'm going to figure it out by myself and come back to you with what I think is best. But you don't have to always have the answers every single time, right? And right at the moment, right? It's okay to not know. This is a unique experience for all, right? All of us. We're figuring it out as we go. So if there are fatherhood moments that you come across where you're literally stumped, you're confused, it's okay to not know. All right. Man, thanks for hanging out with me, man. This channel is growing steadily, and I'm just very proud of the way that not only the dads are showing up for the content, but also there are moms out there that are leaving comments and showing up as well. So I'm just very happy that the things I'm speaking about, these things resonate with the community, right? So I'm thrilled about that. So anywho, if you want a deeper dive on this topic, check out my podcast, the Mindful Dad podcast. The link to that is in the description. Also, like I mentioned, the 365 Dad Journal is on my website. A bunch of other great resources for mindful fatherhood on my website. Don't forget to subscribe to the Inner Journey Dad newsletter. All of these resources and links are, of course, in the description. And I'm sending light, and I'll see y'all next week.